Your phone rings. You look at the number. You do not answer. You just stand there, watching it buzz like it walked into the room without asking. You wait for the ringing to stop first. Then you search the number. You check the area code. You look for a name. If the call came from someone saved in your phone, you still scan the last few messages, trying to figure out what they might want before your brain can become available. Basically, your nervous system wants a background check before a basic conversation. It might be your dentist confirming an appointment. It might be a delivery driver who cannot find the building. It might be your cousin with one quick question, which somehow means 40 minutes and 3 unrelated stories. The problem is not always the person. It is the way a phone call arrives. No warning, no context, no sentence that lets your mind prepare. A text gives you something to hold. A call gives you pressure. It asks for your voice before your mind has caught up, and for quiet people, that gap matters more than most people understand. If they had texted first, you might have answered later. But a ringing phone does not wait for later. It takes a quiet minute and turns it into a decision you did not agree to. And this is where people misread quiet people. From the outside, not answering a call can look rude, or dramatic, or like you are making a silent statement with your voicemail. But most of the time, there is no statement. There is just a nervous system that did not enjoy being summoned like customer service. You may like the person calling. You may care about what they have to say. You may even plan to call back after you know what the call is about. But the first ring still feels like someone asking for immediate access to your attention, your timing, and whatever version of you can sound normal. That is a lot for a random Tuesday, especially when you were not in conversation mode. You were in microwave mode, or folding laundry mode, or staring at the wall because the day had been doing too much. Then the phone rings, and suddenly you are supposed to become clear, warm, available, and responsive in 3 seconds. That does not mean you hate people. It means switching into live contact takes more effort than people assume. If this hit a little too close to home, drop "ring" in the comments. Not because you are avoiding everyone, because you know what it feels like to need a second before becoming reachable. A text message has edges. You can read it once, leave it alone, come back, decide what you actually mean, erase the part that sounds weird, and answer when your brain is no longer standing in the doorway with one shoe on. A phone call does not give you that. It drops you into the conversation already moving. Someone says hello, and now you have to match tone. Remember why they might be calling. Respond fast enough that the pause does not feel strange, and somehow sound like a person who was expecting this. That missing buffer is the whole problem. Quiet people often think before they enter a conversation. Not in a dramatic way. They just need a little runway. A call removes the runway and asks them to take off from the driveway. That is why even a harmless call can feel heavier than it should. It asks for a live version of you. A version that answers cleanly. One that hears everything correctly. The kind that does not say, "Wait, sorry, what?" 4 times and then spend the rest of the call feeling like a malfunctioning office printer. Text feels easier because it lets the mind arrive first. On a call, the voice has to arrive before the mind is fully ready. There is also the pressure of sounding normal before you have located yourself. On a call, you cannot quietly edit your face the way you can edit a text. You cannot look at your answer and think, "No, that sounds colder than I meant." You just speak, and whatever comes out becomes the version the other person has to interpret. That is why quiet people sometimes over-prepare for the simplest call. They write down the reason they are calling. They rehearse the first sentence. They imagine 3 ways the conversation could go wrong, including one where the person says something completely normal and their brain still responds like it has been asked to land a plane. It sounds funny until you are the one holding the phone, waiting for the courage to press call. The hardest part is not always the conversation. It is the first 3 seconds. The hello, the small pause, the moment where both people are trying to find the rhythm. Text lets you enter with a sentence already formed. A call makes you build the sentence while someone is listening to you build it. For quiet people, that can feel strangely exposed. Not because they have nothing to say, because they care how the words land, and live conversation does not always give them enough time to choose carefully. That pressure can make silence look safer. Then there is the strangest part of a phone call. You only get a voice. No face. No little smile that says, "I am not upset." No glance away that tells you they are distracted, not disappointed. No room to read. So your mind starts filling in the missing information, and quiet people can be very good at filling in missing information in the most stressful direction possible. Their voice sounds flat. Are they annoyed? They pause for half a second. Did you say something wrong? They say, yeah, that is fine. And now you are trying to hear whether fine means fine or the kind of fine that should come with its own weather warning. This is why phone calls can feel like emotional detective work. You are not just listening to words. You are listening for mood, pace, hidden meaning, background noise, and whether the other person is secretly trying to end the call while you are also secretly trying to end the call. It is a lot. In person, a face gives you context. In text, the word stays still long enough to check. On a call, everything moves, and somehow you are supposed to understand it in real time. If this helped explain why phone calls feel heavier than they should, give it a like. It helps this reach the people who keep letting unknown numbers go to voicemail like it is a survival strategy. Another thing quiet people rarely say out loud is that answering the call is only half the problem. The other half is getting out. A text can end cleanly. You stop typing, set the phone down, and the conversation waits there without feelings about it. A call is different. It has to be landed while another person is still in the air with you. You say, okay, I should let you go. They say, yeah, same here. Then one tiny new thought slips in, and suddenly you are hearing about a dentist appointment, someone's dog, and a story that apparently began during a completely different season of life. You are not trying to be rude. You are just standing there with the phone against your ear, looking at the stove, the laundry, the browser tab you left open, and wondering how a simple call became a small hostage situation with better manners. Quiet people often get stuck in that ending. They hear the moment where the call could close, but they hesitate. Cutting in feels sharp. Sounding rushed feels unkind. So they soften everything. A slower answer. A polite laugh. A small yeah that means, please find the exit with me. By the time the call ends, the talking may not have been bad. The escape route was the exhausting part. There is also the part that looks like laziness. Quiet people often do not start contact unless something pushes them to. They will text before they call. Then sometimes they delay the text too, which looks ridiculous even to them. The message is simple. 6 words, maybe. Nothing emotional. Nothing dangerous. And still it sits there because starting a conversation feels like opening a tab they are not sure they have the energy to keep open. This is why they can care about someone and still rarely be the first one to reach out. It is not lack of love. It is communication inertia. Once the exchange begins, they know it may ask for more than the first sentence. A quick check-in can become plans. Plans can become explanations. Explanations can become a whole social thread they were not ready to hold. So they wait. Not forever, but longer than other people understand. A quiet person may think about texting you 3 times in 1 week and still send nothing, then feel guilty about the silence they created while also feeling too tired to repair it. That is the strange loop. They need connection. They also need a little distance from the demand of starting it. And phone calls sit at the hardest end of that demand, because once the call begins, there is no gentle way to arrive slowly. Here is where the honest part matters. Not liking phone calls is not automatically a problem. Some calls really are unnecessary. Some could have been a text, a voicemail, or a 3-line email that spared everyone the tiny theater of hello. How are you? Can you hear me? Wait, are you there? A quiet person is allowed to prefer communication with a little more room in it. That preference can be mature. It can save energy. It can make the conversation clearer because they have time to think before responding. But there is another side. If every important call gets ignored, every hard conversation gets pushed into later, and the dentist, the bank, the landlord, the old friend, and the person who actually needs an answer all disappear into the same pile of missed calls, then preference may be turning into avoidance. That does not mean you should suddenly become the person who answers unknown numbers with suspicious confidence. Nobody is asking for that level of adventure. It just means there is a difference between choosing the best channel and hiding from every channel that asks for presence. A text gives you a buffer. A call asks for immediacy. The skill is learning when you need the buffer and when the moment actually needs you to answer right now. So the goal is not to become someone who loves phone calls. You may never be that person. And honestly, that does not make you difficult, rude, or cold. You may always prefer a text first. A little context. A chance to know whether this is urgent, casual, complicated, or just someone asking if you are free next weekend. That is not a flaw. It is how your mind prepares for contact. But maybe the next time the phone rings, you can pause before turning the missed call into a full investigation with no witnesses. Check the number if you need to. Breathe. Let your brain arrive. Then decide whether this call needs your voice now, or whether a text can hold it better. Quiet people do not hate connection. They usually hate being pulled into connection before they have had time to enter it honestly. And once you understand that, the ringing starts to make a little more sense. Send this to someone who keeps asking, "Why don't you just call me?" Thank you for watching until this moment. I'm Can. Subscribe for more videos about the psychology behind behaviors most people misunderstand. Goodbye and see you next time.